G'day folks, it's Rob here. I was planning on bringing you a Bell Siphon 101 and troubleshooting guide. The props are still there from where I shot the video the other day, but I'm just not going to have the time to edit it to the place where I'd be happy with it. So I thought I'd do a bit of a Q&A, answer 6 questions from my most recent comment list, and also give you a bit of a look at a harvest and just run through some of the maintenance I'll have to be doing today before we shoot out for a very busy weekend. Also too, quick spruik before we get into the Q&A, I do have that guide that is coming out via the Retrieve website. Thank you very much folks for all your help. It's a very interactive guide. Basically, it's an introduction to DIY backyard aquaponics. So yeah, that will be coming out next Sunday hopefully, and I might release a few short little videos this week just as trailers and that sort of thing, just to give you a bit of a better idea on how it works. Enough of that though, we'll hook into the questions. So first off, we'll get to Infinilaw's question. Infinilaw asks, dumb question? No, it's not a dumb question, I get it a lot actually. I have watched so many of your videos, they're great, thanks so much, not a problem, hope you enjoy them, but I can't figure out the start point. How are the waste solids and water being pulled up that pipe, the solids lifting outlet? It's pretty basic really. Water coming into a vessel at some point needs to overflow. Now at the top of the solids lifting outlet arrangement, we have a hole in the top of the tank. So that water coming in is basically being pushed out the lowest point of exit, which is that hole in the sidewall of the tank that takes the solids lifting outlet. Now because we've got a large volume of water coming into the tank, and a fairly small exit port, that is the base of the solids lifting outlet, that water pretty much drags all the solids to that point where they're then lifted and taken out the sides wall of the fish tank. So I hope that answered your question. Next we have Andrew H. Is there any reason you're using native fish over the invasive species like tilapia, etc.? Well, you've just sort of answered it there. It's an invasive species here in Queensland, Australia. In fact, we can get fined quite a lot if we're caught keeping them in the backyard. I think the last time I saw it was around about 20,000 Australian dollars. I think that's, you know, $10 American, but yeah, it's just not worth the risk of keeping them in the system. There's other fish as well that we're just not allowed to keep. So it's just one of those things. Besides, I'm really, you know, happy with the jade perch, so I'm pretty much all going to stick with them for now. Kelvin has asked, how do you deal with iron, magnesium and potassium deficiency? As I told by other, these nutrients is lacking in aquaponics system and need to be added in. Well, potassium really isn't a huge issue for us because I use potassium bicarbonate to help buffer the pH up. The calcium hydroxide I use will raise pH, but not any alkalinity as such, whereas the potassium bicarbonate adds a great whack of alkalinity, which helps keep the pH up longer. So that's something that I use. Basically, if you're not aware of it, the nitrification process tends to acidify the water, so the pH is constantly dropping, so that's why we add those buffers in. Magnesium, the older leaves start to look a little bit chlorotic between the veins. That's when it turns yellow. I will add in a little bit of magnesium in the forms of Epsom salts. The reason why I'm looking for the chlorosis on the older growth is because magnesium is a mobile element. It'll move from the older growth to the newer growth if it's deficient in the system. So iron, it's actually the other way around. If you've got chlorosis on young growth, because iron isn't a mobile element, it'll tend to show there first. So once you see the yellowing between the veins on the newer growth, then I'll add in some chelated iron. I use the DTPA iron here just because it's more plant available in the pH range that I like to run. With the testing iron, there is a test kit. I've shown it in a couple of clips. Potassium, there's none that I'm aware of, sorry. So it's just one of those things that I just like to add in the system on a fairly regular basis. So question number 4 and 5, along the same lines, got to do with worms in your system. Hung has asked, hi Rob, hope you can read out my comment. Yes I can, but yeah, I can't do it all the time. So is it great to have compost worms in the grow beds? And Patrick has asked, what are your thoughts on using worms as a means of biofiltration? Well, yes, it is great to have worms in the grow beds, I think. The compost worms, that is, not your average soil worms. They're slightly different. Worms are great at reducing the organic matter in the bed and making it plant available. So whether you've got fish poo that's made it through, or roots from old plants, or leaves that have fallen off plants, they will break them down into plant available elements. But they will also create solids that can't be taken up by the plants, So they're not really, you know, a great solids filtration device in that respect. As for a biofiltration device or organism, they're not really much good at converting the ammonia through to fish-friendly nitrate, but they are making some of those elements that are locked up in organic matter available to plants by breaking them down further. So in that respect, yeah, beneficial to have them in the system, but they're not something I'd count on to act as some sort of biofiltration or as a solids reduction device. On to number 6, James. Hi Rob, I have a problem with the bell siphon. It doesn't drain properly. Is there a way to fix this? Sorry mate, I'd love to be able to answer that here, but as I mentioned, a little bit flat strapped this week. The bell siphon video is coming. Cross my heart, or not my fingers, cross my heart, and all that sort of stuff. It will be coming next week. I just want to make sure that the edits are nice and crisp, and what I'm showing on camera explains the issues that people are having. That way I just don't have to come back later and try and explain myself again in the comment section. So yeah, next weekend, that one will be the video for the week. I will pretty much leave the Q&A there, and we'll grab the knife and basket and go do a bit of a harvest. So something we're not harvesting today, but I thought I'd give you a bit of a gander at, is this capsicum or sweet pepper. We have no idea how this one popped up in the system, but it's a yellow one. I was expecting it to be red. It really does need to have some more sunlight, so I'm going to have to chop back some of this tomato this week. Just really want it to survive through to spring and summer, so we can get a few more fruit from it. We'll just bag them up from the fruit fly. The tomato is still booming. Really does need to be cut back though. Around here, the new crop of perpetual chard is coming on well. Should start to harvest some of these guys very soon. I did take off a broccoli from here through the week. It was a nice looking head. We've already devoured that one. And we have another one I want to take off today, and that is this one over here. So one issue we have had through the season is the cabbage butterfly. As you can see, there's a couple of holes here or there. Haven't had much hassle with them recently because I have been keeping up with the Dipel spray. You may be able to make out some of the white powder stuck on that leaf, but as you can probably see from the water on top of these leaves as well, we also had a fair bit of rain last night, so I will have to spray these guys again. In fact, that looks like new damage, so maybe I should have got into this earlier. But yeah, we do have loads of little broccoli coming on all around the place, so pretty chuffed with that. But the victim in question today is this one here. With the broccoli as well, just to let you know, I don't pull the plants once I take the heads off, because they will send up side shoots. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed as I did the other day with the supporters on the other harvest. I don't think that's going to work. I'm going to grab something else. Got the trusty Gardena, so that'll do the trick. Maybe I should have used a tripod, but there we go. We've got the head off. Actually, almost. There we go. So not a bad looking head of broccoli. This is pretty much when I like to take them off as well. I like to eat these raw if I can. As you can see, they're little bumps there. They're actually flower buds. They're starting to separate a little bit. So within a couple of days, we would have seen a couple of flowers open up on this, I think. So a perfect time to harvest these guys. As I said before, there are more heads coming through. There you go, there's a good example of what I mean. See, the heads are starting to split apart. So this one is pretty much all going to go to flower straight away. So I might just snap him off, and yeah, we'll add him to the basket as well. So I do like to catch them before they start to flower if I can, just because they're more filling, but you can also eat the flowers as well. Off to grab a cabbage. So I'm going to take one of these Red Express cabbages today. They don't grow to a large head, just a small one from my understanding. Thanks again, Mark, for signing these out for us. We have a baby one here. It's not really filling out too much. This one here is the largest, and we have another one that has fallen over down in here, but I'm going to try and prop him up and take him another day. The kale's looking good too there, but yeah, we're after cabbage tonight, so I'll nip this fella off here. And again, I'll use the secateurs. This one will be easier to do one-handed. So there we go. Not a bad looking cabbage at all, and no bug damage down there in the center. When I do spray with the Dipel, I like to try and get it right down in there. It's human friendly, so I'm not too worried about it causing any damage to us or any of the fish or any of the other wildlife. It just pretty much will gets into the guts of the caterpillar and knocks them over. So that's veg number 2. Before we go, give you a bit of a look at the fish down in there. Yeah, as you can see, they're all swimming around fairly happily. It's just too cold to be giving them a load of feed at the moment, so I've just been letting them go. Whenever the water temp hits around about 18, 19 degrees, I might throw a few leaves in. But yeah, when it gets over 20 or so, I throw a couple of pellets in there just to keep them on the grow. Just looking at the greenery in the system, I don't think we have a nitrate issue at the moment. It's all just those other elements that aren't making its way through from the poop. So that's why I've been dosing with a bit of seaweed and some other bits and pieces. But that's enough of that. I'll give you a bit of a final look at the harvest after I make it pretty. So there you go, folks. There's a look at the harvest. The broccoli is going to be used just in a little bit of a stir fry. And tomorrow night we'll be making up, I think, a pork belly. And I like to do up a butter cabbage with apple and onion. And that'll be going in there. Tastes fantastic with a few caraway seeds thrown in. So there you go. And yes, I could have filled the basket up with more green and made it look very lush, but I don't see the point in harvesting stuff just to make something look good when I can pop down here whenever I want and pick stuff. Blooming cabbage butterfly. Trolled me all through making a trailer the other day. Caught the little blighter, so just dispatch him. Don't forget, folks, if you do want to know when this bell siphon video is released and you're not subscribed already, all you need to do is hit that subscribe button, jump on over to the bell icon, and YouTube hopefully will send you a notification. But I will pretty much leave it there. Thanks for coming along to another Q&A and small harvest video, and thanks to you folks supporting us over on the YouTube membership program and also our own Farm Your Own website. I do hope you all have a top weekend out in the patch tending your garden or aquaponics, and I will catch you later. Cheers, folks, and happy growing.